Welcome to the C-Suite Mentor, the place where you will learn the tools, strategies, and mindset to scale your business sustainably and build a lasting legacy. I'm your host, Theresa Cantley. As a fellow CEO, I understand what it takes to scale a business to 7 and multiple 8 figures. It's not necessarily what you might think. It requires a complete shift in how you think, strategize, and execute key actions in your business. My mission is to help CEOs step back into the driver's seat of their business by optimizing their operations, empowering their team, and staying in total alignment with their big vision. So, are you ready to exchange everything that hasn't worked for strategies that will? You're in the right place, so let's go. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the C-Suite Mentor podcast. I am your host, Theresa Cantley. And today, I wanted to talk to you about this concept of expanding your impact. This year, there are 3 things that we want to focus on expanding. So last episode, we talked about expanding our identity. What are you training your mind to do? There's also expanding your influence, which we're going to talk about on a future episode, which is all about how you lead in your business. And it's not what you think. The one that we want to talk about today is all about expanding your impact. And you hear a lot about pivot and change, pivot and change, pivot and change, pivot your business, pivot your mission, pivot, whatever. And the truth is that pivot and change really starts with you. And that's why we need to focus on expanding our impact. And the truth is that in society today, it is way easier to go through the motions, to just go through the day and kind of not think about anything, to disengage and not care as much, and to really get sucked into that drama. So that's just kind of how society is right now. And it's big. And we see it kind of all over the place. We see employee engagement is down. Employee trust is down within organizations. I mean, you've seen countless reports about it. Leaders are struggling because they have to handle situations and learn new things that they're not really skilled to do or they've never learned to do. And they're like, oh my gosh, what if they figure me out? What if they think that I don't know what I'm doing? And so imposter syndrome is on a rise, which we talked about in the last episode. And they're tackling challenges that they've never had to tackle before. And it's hard, and I've learned this as a mentor, as a coach myself, coaching CEOs for many, many years, working with CEOs throughout my entire career. A lot of them don't want to ask for help. They don't want to have to admit that they don't have all the answers, even though admitting that you don't have all the answers, but you're willing to believe in yourself enough that you can figure it out, that you can figure anything out, is so key and so important to growth and change and really leading an organization. But more and more, they don't want to ask for help. They don't want to admit that, hey, I got to learn this new thing or I got to do this new thing. I just went through a year that was super, super challenging, and now I got to handle these new challenges. CEOs are burning out. I read an article, which I've talked about in the podcast before. A lot of CEOs are actually getting out of that C-suite world, that executive world, moving into other things just because the pressure is so high. So the truth is, and I'm going to go back to this again, is really that we need to have that pivot and change, or just have that change happen within ourselves first. The other thing that I read, because I read articles all the time, is that, in the workplace right now, and this is where we can see that not caring and that going to the drama, getting pulled into the drama, which honestly takes away from the impact that we can have in society, we can have in our community, and we can really have in our organizations. And I've seen it. I was at a show last week with a client of mine, and I saw it all over the place. We were at a buying show over in Ireland, and I saw CEOs and business owners blaming, this is the reason why our business is struggling, or that is why, because that happened, or they didn't get me what I needed. So you have this, that, them, blaming all these external circumstances and never really looking at themselves. So I read an article recently where incivility in the workplace is on the rise, because it's not just about, I don't have the same opinion as you, or I don't believe the same thing as you. And it's not about, like, we have gotten so far away from respecting individual opinions, and it's gotten to the point where it's almost like you're being shunned because you have a difference of opinion. And I look at, and even like people talking about getting rid of DEI in workplaces, and should we get rid of it? And what does it really mean? And, that whole thing. And the truth is that when I look at all of this, when I look at it like we need to really get back to making an impact, a positive impact. And that impact, that change, that pivot really starts with you. And with all of these challenges, what's happening just externally in the world and what's happening in society, and that complete, it's not even polarization, that complete divide that we have. And really it's even more than that. Like, there's a divide, but then it's like, okay, we're going to shun you because you believe in this. What happens with all of that, and really why we need to be called up as leaders, is character is really revealed through these struggles. Character, a lot of people talk about character is built. And what I've learned over the years, it's not just about character being built, it's about character being revealed. And character is revealed only if we make the decision to summon the best of who we are, absolutely every single day. Every single day. And whether you are leading an organization, you own a business, or you are an employee, you can make that decision to truly be that empathetic leader, that transformational leader that this world needs, simply by, first of all, understanding that struggle is just part of life. The meaning of life is meeting and solving problems. So there's always going to be that struggle. There's always going to be that challenge. There's always going to be those obstacles. But that's when true character can be revealed. And most of society, as I said, they're just going through the motions. They approach every single day just from a reactive mode, not a productive mode. And we're just going to go through the motions. We're just going to do our daily routine. We're just going to just go with the flow, instead of summoning the best of who we are and being the leaders that the world needs. And what that takes to reveal that character, to really summon the best of who you are, is to lean into the unknown, to be willing to learn new skills, to try new strategies, and really, at the end of the day, know who you are. Know who you are from the inside out. When I talk about building businesses from the inside out, starting with the CEO, what it comes down to is the CEO really embracing and understanding what they believe at their core, and then how that then carries through the organization. The CEO really understanding that difference that they want to make, that positive change that they want to make. And then again, how that gets woven into the rest of the organization. And when we summon the best of who we are, when we say we're going to approach the day with intention, which we're going to talk about, when we do that, we are able to activate those superpowers that we have from the inside. We're able to connect with who we are, to connect with the work that we truly need to do, and to summon those superpowers that we have, the superpowers of empathy, the superpowers of true leadership, the superpowers of teaching, coaching, inspiring others to be the best that they can be. So you can see, and I've worked with many, many leaders who only care about themselves. Instead of self-activation, they are like they care about themselves. They don't necessarily care about the team or the greater scheme, or they just care about making money and not necessarily about being of service to your customers and being of service to the people that work for you. They completely missed that boat. And like I said, I've worked with many leaders like that. And the book that I'm actually writing is going to talk about some of these stories and what you can do if you find yourself, I might be that type of leader, what you can do to actually be a better leader, to be that transformational leader, that to be that leader that really erases the drama, that solves the problems, that really makes this world better, right? And, I brought up DEI because there's so much going on out there about what different places getting rid of those departments, different places, questioning the department, which I think is crazy in itself. But if we can take those principles of DEI, we can take those principles of seeing people for who they are, for embracing that diversity, diverse cultures, diverse backgrounds, diverse people. If we can do that from our own leadership, that's how we can really, truly start to expand the impact that we have. And it starts with seeing people as people, seeing people with the greatness that they have, seeing people with and helping them to summon the best of who they are. So 5 ways that we can actually start to activate, to have that self-activation, to really know thyself, to take this and really start to expand our impact and have that pivot and change be to start with us and how we see things, how we show up every day in our business, just in our life, how we show up for our family, how we show up for our team, how we can activate that from within first so that we can impact outside. So number 1 is I said it, summon the best of who you are. Start from the inside and require mastery of yourself first before you require it of others. I've had clients over the years that have come to me and said, I am struggling to grow my business. I am struggling to get my team to do XYZ. And when we start digging into it, you can't lead people to a place you are not willing to lead yourself. I can't tell you how many times I have said that phrase. And prior to that, how many times I heard that phrase from mentors of mine. And it is true. You can't expect your team to be the best, to do the best, if you're not summoning that within yourself first. If your business is struggling, if your team is disengaged, you need to take a look at yourself and what do you believe about your business and how are you showing up? Are you an absent leader? Are you a leader that's really not there? Are you burned out and you just don't have it in you to actually lead the team, to implement new projects, to actually raise your hand and say, I don't have all the answers to how we're going to turn this around, but I'm willing to figure it out because I believe we can figure it out. So before you can ask others to summon the best in themselves, you need to summon the best in yourself. Before you want others to lead their department, to lead their individual teams, you need to lead You need to show up as that leader first. I had a coaching client who I had a client and he wanted me to coach someone on his leadership team, a new leader that was coming. It was an employee that they promoted, and this person was a new leader. And as we started digging in, they were asking him to be this incredible leader when they themselves, the owners of the business, were terrible leaders, to be quite honest. They didn't know how to lead. And they were asking me to teach him how to lead when I finally pulled it out because they didn't know how to. So instead, what we needed to do is start with them and not their manager inside the office. So again, summon the best of who you are first. Then you can start and require mastery of yourself, mastery of being okay with the unknown, mastery of leaning into uncertainty. Because when you do that and when you show up that way, your team will follow. And I don't even say follow, your team will come with you. Your team will find it inside themselves to summon the best of who they are. And if they don't, they might not be a good fit. But you got to start with that first. Number 2, start the day with intention, not randomness. When people come to me and they say, I don't have enough time in the day to get this done, I feel overwhelmed. The first thing I ask them is, let's see your schedule. Let's see your calendar. And if we open up their calendar, there's nothing on there or they don't have a plan for the day, how can you expect to get things done if you don't start with your day with intention? Most people, as I said, our society is a reactive society, not necessarily a productive society. So guess what? Most people are reactive. They approach their day from reactivity and randomness versus being proactive about what they're doing. So what do they end up doing? What do they end up doing? They end up focusing on busy work. They end up focusing on tasks that they really don't need to do. They end up, and this is a trap that a lot of business owners fall into, is they end up thinking, well, if I do it myself, it'll be faster, I can get it done. And they end up putting a lot of stuff on their plate that is random busy work. And they think, well, I'm busy, I should be growing. And that's not the case. So start your day with intention. Really have a plan in the morning, have a morning routine that really gets you set for the day. And that routine should be reflective of whatever that goal or desire is that you have. Don't start your day with randomness and being reactive to things, because when you do that, you're only going to get randomness and reactivity back. What you put out is what you're going to receive back. So also make sure when you start your day with intention, we also want to make sure that your team is starting the day with intention. When I teach leaders and business owners to set their day up for success, to really have their CEO schedule, the intention isn't for them to hoard that knowledge. It's to teach their team to do the same thing. So when you're walking in intention and when you're functioning in intention, again, they will, when you're putting it out, they're going to be giving it back. So make sure when you're doing that, whatever you learn, because remember, summoning the best of who we are is really requiring mastery. So if you're learning a new skill, you want to make sure that you're implementing that and integrating it into your day-to-day routine that you have with your team. I heard something, I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and a mentor of mine was talking about with her team, part of their routine and starting it with intention, they have the miracle hour. That's what she calls it, the miracle hour. And during that hour, they have specific things that they're working on to generate leads, to generate sales, to put out content. That's what they focus on in that hour. Actually, it's like an hour and 15 minutes. But we got to start the day with intention. Got to. And we got to make sure that our team starts the day with intention. Stay centered and be calm in the storm. Really, this goes back to steering clear from drama. Drama will kill an organization. Drama is the toxicity, and really it becomes a cancer that spreads throughout the organization and creates havoc, creates dysfunction, creates a lack of productivity, and really derails whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So for you as the leader, the more you can stay centered, feet on the ground, you know why you're doing what you're doing. You start the day with intention and really focusing on no matter what challenge. Like I said, I was at the show and I talked to business owner after business owner after business owner who it was something else's, someone else's, something else's, whatever fault as to why they had a bad year. Instead of looking at it and saying, what could I have done differently? How could I have shown up differently? And recognizing that struggle is always going to be there. And as your business grows, as you grow as a leader, as you learn new things, the struggle and the problems get bigger and harder. And it's just part of life. I like to refer to it as the yin and the yang. So when we go through struggle, we're going through struggle and we're learning all kinds of new things. And we get to the point where we have the calm. And then the struggle comes in and then we have the calm. So we have to learn to be the calm in the storm, no different than a hurricane. So the eye of the hurricane is the calmest part. And there's all kinds of stuff swirling around it. And the thing that kills me when I see it is when leaders get caught up in the swirl and they get caught up in the swirl and there's no calm. So what happens is, again, your team, your employees, your organization will manifest itself how you're manifesting. So if you are stressed and overwhelmed and frustrated, and that's what's being put out to your team, how are they going to manifest them, right? Stressed, overwhelmed, frustrated. So what we want to do, I have a client that I meet with regularly. It's one of the businesses that I run, and he's the general manager. And he always says to me, T, you are the calm in the storm. He's like, when you come here, you can make sense out of all of the chaos that's going on. I mean, it's a restaurant. They got a lot of stuff happening all the time. And he said, but you are the calm. And he said, you bring calm to the chaos. You bring order to the disorderly. And he said, I don't know how you do it. And I said, it's taken years and years and years of me really activating the best of who I am and learning that if you get caught up in the swirl, just like a hurricane, you are going to get caught up in that storm. But if you can stay calm in the center of it, you can make better decisions. You can really get your footing and be centered and say, okay, remember, why are we doing this in the first place? So that you can then say, okay, here's how we're going to try and navigate these struggles. I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to try it. Because remember, we live in a very uncertain world and everybody wants certainty and you're just not going to get it, right? So we need to learn how to stay centered, to be the calm in the middle of the storm so that we can see above it. We can see the horizon. We can see above it, and then we can navigate those struggles and navigate those obstacles. Because when we realize, and I was listening to a motivational talk from one of my mentors, and he said, there is no personal development book out there, no personal development book that starts with, you're always going to have problems. And the more you grow, the more complex your problems get. He's like, no personal development book starts like that. But the truth is that it's the truth. The problems never go away. The struggles never go away. In fact, they just get bigger. They just get bigger. The more you grow, the more your business grows, the problems get more complex. But what you can do is you can become a better problem solver. You can look for the solution no matter what comes your way. Because as I said to my client that said I was the calm in the storm, is that those problems that are thrown our way are our opportunity to find gold. But we have to be willing to see them, and we have to be willing to see the gold, to see those problems as either they're detouring us to something better, they're detouring us to a bigger opportunity, or getting us, to close the door that we really shouldn't have opened to begin with. But we have to be willing to see that. And the only way we're going to be willing to see and be solution-based is if we stay centered. If we stay centered in what matters most. And the way that we stay centered is we have to activate that within ourselves. It took me years to learn how to do that. But now I am one of those people that can run into a burning building or paratroop into something, assess the situation, come up with here's what we need to do next so that you can move forward. Number 4, don't shrink down. Don't ever shrink down. As my friend said to me, Theresa, we are owning the room. You never, ever want to shrink back. You always want to be you. And this is important because society, especially when it comes to leaders, they want to put you, shame you, and put you into a box. People think that leadership is solely about power, and it's not. It is not. Leadership is about inspiring others and bringing the greatness forth so that collectively we can make a difference and make a change. It is about service over status, because service, when we are in service to others, service to our customers, service to our team, the status will follow. But really the status doesn't become, it's really not as important as the service is. So I don't even want to get into politics, but there's so much in politics right now, especially in our American politics, about power. And people see that as that's important. And if that's not your main focus, again, so often we get shamed into this box. And then what do we want to do? We want to shrink back. I know over the years, I have found myself where I have tried to use my voice and someone has shushed me. And what did I do? I put myself into that box. And I decided long ago I was not going to do that anymore, because the power of my voice, the power of me expanding my impact and being that transformational leader and getting my message out there about bringing the greatness out in people and not having it be about power or money, that needs to be heard, because that's what's going to make the impact and the change. It's the same as your organization. Do not shrink back. Don't shrink back because you want to people please your team, because you want to people please the people in your community. You need to step into and know thyself. I think it was Plato, one of the philosophers, that said it first. You have to know who you are from the inside, because everything else manifests from there. If you believe that it's not possible, if you believe that power and money is more important than impact and being of service, like, you're just going to manifest stuff that really doesn't align with you and really isn't going to make a difference and a change that your organization needs and that your team needs. So don't shrink down. If someone tells you, and I see this when I go to Main Street organization meetings all the time, when I go to chamber meetings, it's like group think at the worst many times over. And I apologize for anybody who is in a chamber, and I apologize, not really, but group think in those meetings many times over, boy, it drives me insane. And I see people who have an opinion and even if your idea doesn't work, who cares? Say it, because it could be the most profound thing. But oftentimes we want to shrink back because the group might think that we sound silly, or our employees might think that that idea is silly and they might not go along with it, or we need to make sure that we make everybody happy. I hear that a lot. We need to make everybody happy. It's not possible, right? Because we have no control over what the other person feels. So the best thing that we can do is don't shrink back. If you believe in making a difference in your community, if you believe in making a difference in your team, in your organization, in your department, just in the lives of others, don't ever shrink back. Summon the best of who you are and be you. The last one is call up greatness. Call up greatness. I believe call them out when they're not doing this so they can be called up. And when we are willing to call ourselves up and summon that greatness, we can call others up, and they are willing to accept that call. They are willing to stand in their own greatness so that they can do amazing things. And I've seen this happen time and time again. Recently, someone who I challenged them to call up their greatness, not by promoting themselves, but by developing their team, because they weren't doing anything with their team. And it was always, well, I did this and I did this and I did that and I made this, instead of, yes, I taught so-and-so how to do this and then had them come up with the idea and we fine-tuned it together. That is calling up greatness. So when we're willing to do that with inside ourselves, when we are willing to summon the best of who we are, when we are willing to start the day with intention, when we are willing to be the calm in the chaos, and we're willing to not shrink back no matter what any other person says, we can call up the greatness in ourselves and in others. And that is how we can make the pivot and change that we need to make going into 2025 with everything that we are going to have to navigate now and moving forward, with changes in technology, with changes happening rapidly in business and in the world and in our societies, and how we can look at that not as a struggle. We can look at it as an opportunity for us to make a bigger impact, to expand our impact as the leaders this world needs us to be. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. We are going to be launching a new offer very, very soon. It is going to be amazing, and it is going to be a power hour for business owners. So stay tuned for that. We are calling it, what are we calling it? The return on investment audit. I forgot what we were going to be calling it, but it is a power hour where I am going to be giving you, after you fill out some information, I am going to be giving you your own personalized strategy as far as how you can expand your impact inside your business, how you can fix and tweak things so that you can not just grow, but you can scale your business in 2025 and navigate a lot of these obstacles that a lot of businesses are facing. So stay tuned for more information on that. But until then, I hope you have a great rest of your week. And remember, we need to expand our impact in this world, because that is how we're able to take care of each other just a little bit more than we already do. That's how we're able to embrace diversity. That's how we're able to create innovation that this world needs. And that really is how we're able to step into our true self and our true destiny. Okay. Have a great rest of your week. Hey there. Thank you so much for listening. If you found value on this show, please follow the podcast so you never, ever miss an episode. And I would love, love, love if you would leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify for me. Even better, share the show with a fellow business owner ready to step fully into their CEO leadership role. Because right now, more than ever, the world really needs next level leaders. And by the way, did you know you can text me all your questions and get real-time feedback? You absolutely can. Just text the word CEO to me at 610-215-2838 to get connected. One last goodie for you before I go. If you're ready to scale your business and have a co-creator working right by your side, my C-Suite Mentor Program may be perfect for you and your possible new second in command. Just visit thecsuitementor.com to get started.